One core principle that I firmly believe is that leadership makes all the difference in a company's performance.
Ted, who influenced you the most when you were a young person? What was it that they passed on to you?
This may be a classic answer, but it's the real truth. My parents. My father was a World War II Depression era guy. Worked himself up. He was the only kid from his high school to go to college. Did it through ROTC, 4 years in the war. He taught me the diligence of hard work. My mother was spectacular. She loved 8 kids intensely and took care of us. And she taught me how to interact with people, how to care about people. I've met a lot of people in the world, but going back to childhood, my parents are the 2 most influential people in my life. Now, since then, the person relatively early in my life who influenced me was the governor of New Jersey. I had the privilege, it was my passion at the time, to work in politics and public service, and I had the privilege at a very young age, in my 20s, to work for Governor Brendan of New Jersey. He's still going, 88 years young, God bless him, and he's a wonderful leader, and he taught me courage. He was a very courageous leader. So those were probably the 3 early influences in my life.
And so what were your early dreams and ambitions?
I wanted to be the governor of New Jersey, and that's just one way in which Brendan influenced me. He suggested that politics is a pretty tough life, and my father was certainly encouraging me to get a real job, because he thought that business was the right thing to do. And I asked the governor, and he said it's a pretty tough life, and I very definitely wanted to have a family, and I saw the sacrifice that families make when they go into political life. And so between my father and Brendan, who were 2 very different guys, I took their advice and I went on to business school, and I've had a very fortunate career ever since. Certainly an easier career than politics, and then in terms of my own interest in trying to help the world, help communities, I do that in addition. I'm not involving my family directly the way that political leaders have to, and I admire anybody who does do that, who goes into the political arena. But those were the 3 big influences on my life.
Yeah. I was going to ask you what your core beliefs are about leadership and your core principles about leadership and how they were developed. So could you say a little bit more about that?
One core principle that I firmly believe is that leadership makes all the difference in a company's performance. Leadership is the first factor, and company's performance is the trailing factor. And you can see it all the time. You can see it across companies, you can see it within companies. So any company that is wise should be focusing on leadership, and should ensure that its senior leaders are spending time focused on leadership. And that's actually one of the reasons why I love working for IBM, is that that's been part of our company's history for 100 years, since Tom Watson Sr. first focused on leadership, and it's held deeply by all of our senior leaders. They spend time focusing on the leadership and evaluating it and determining who want to go into what roles and how to develop people. In terms of my other beliefs about leadership, leadership is learned primarily by experience. I absolutely agree. I've always been a believer in experience-based learning. I do think you can accelerate that with the right kind of more formally organized programs, but you should put experience in as part of it. I think you can support people's learning during their times of experience with technology. But in the end, the deep learnings are about experience, and the most powerful experiences are the ones where people challenge themselves. I think if you talk to anybody who's been a successful leader, they will talk about those profound moments when they took on a challenge that was beyond any experience they'd had before, and they really stretched themselves. They learn new things about themselves and learn new things about experience. So those are some of the key principles. And I do think, maybe one last point, I do believe that great leaders can be developed. Not completely. I understand that there's some underlying innate aspects of everybody's personalities and abilities, but I am a believer that you can develop talent, and you can develop leadership, and you can even develop relatively the courage that people show. I do think courage is a part of leadership across any organization. and I think you can develop that as well.
Ted, you know that Fred is dedicated to inspiring the development of leaders who both make the bottom line and a better world. How do we do that? What do you think it will take?
Well, I'll address this from a private sector perspective, from a business, and what we can do. First, I do think that the senior leaders in a private organization, a company, need to care about the citizen of the community that they're members of. They need to care about the fact that they should be as concerned about the community as well, in addition, of course, to shareholders, employees, and first of all, clients. And so it does have to begin with whether a company actually thinks that they have that kind of responsibility. Now, more and more companies do, thank heaven. And so then the company needs to make sure that that's very clearly understood. And again, one of the reasons I have great pride in working for IBM is that this has been a value IBM has had for the century that has been a company, is that we do understand we are here to serve our clients, we're here to make money, we're here to help our employees, but we're also here to make the world a better place. So what you then do is you emphasize this as a source of pride, and that we are all proud of the kind of leaders we are and what we can contribute. And we help to develop people so that they are also thinking about serving the community, and we also think about how we can support the development of leaders actually in the community. Now, IBM's principal focus for this IBM Foundation, the kind of work that we do with that aspect of our endeavor, is focused on K through 12 education, or the equivalent thereof in countries around the world. So this gives us a great opportunity to help develop the young people. You asked me about my influence when I was young, in their education, in their leadership development. And then we have a number of different programs that we bring people in so that they can develop their leadership, including programs at the high school level that are essentially the equivalent of employment and apprenticeship kind of programs. And we have equivalents of that in many different countries around the world. So I think that there's lots that companies can do, which also, by the way, makes business sense, because many of our clients are governments. Many of our clients are companies that also care about this issue. And so when we are doing the right thing, we are positioning ourselves and our company in a more favorable light. And I do believe that what IBM does to help the communities and build leadership for people in IBM or outside of IBM contributes to our brand. And I think that's true of other companies that also make this effort. And so I think there's a win-win from both the company's perspective, but also communities as well.
When you think about the next generation of leaders, what advice would you have for them?
First and foremost, I think people need to keep learning all their lives. I think most of us who are in this field understand that, but you certainly want to be encouraging people at a young age, formative age, to understand that this precious time of education is a wonderful time. Make the most of it. And then as you move into the workforce, you will keep learning. The world changes dramatically. You and I have been around the block a couple times, Jim,
yeah.
And we keep learning. There's so much more. The technology keeps shifting. The world keeps shifting. The opportunities where value is keep shifting. And having that passion and that fascination and that love for learning, that intellectual curiosity is absolutely essential. I also think that in a very related way, keep innovating. You may be doing very well. It's not going to be good enough tomorrow. And you just want to, again, have the excitement of being able to innovate and being able to leverage other people's innovations. And then the third thing I would emphasize for any younger leader is to think global. This is a small world. It's getting smaller. There's opportunities around the world. The fundamental dynamics of how companies operate, how organizations operate across boundaries will keep shifting. But one thing for sure is that technology is going to cause us all to be closer and to be working in a more interdependent way than we ever have before. So those would be the three things that I would emphasize.
And one last question, and that is, what would you most like to be remembered for?
I would maybe put it in some sort of nested circles. The first is the thing I value most, which is my family, and have I been good to my family and my wife, my kids, my extended family. That, and I certainly hope that I will be remembered for having done that. And then, as a larger circle, I do actually try to get involved in a lot of different issues around the communities that I'm part of. I serve on different boards and so forth in the educational world outside of IBM. I always have, and I'm very proud of that. And even very locally, I have made the time to coach 6 and 7-year-old baseball for the last 15 years because I can actually still do it on Saturday morning despite my schedule. And getting old as I am, I first of all love it. What a great age. The kids are so bright-eyed and full of joy, but I also feel very proud of contributing to their development in this fun kind of way. Then on the larger side, this opportunity that I've had throughout my career, but most recently with IBM, to think about how to help people develop themselves has been tremendous, and I certainly hope to be remembered for having made the most of it. We've had the chance, certainly in IBM, to try to be innovative, to try to expand the scope and impact that we can have on people. I hope we have succeeded, and I would like to be remembered for that. We've been fortunate. We've won a lot of awards. It's not so much the awards as much as my knowing what difference that we have made for opportunity for people in the company, opportunity for the company to succeed, but also opportunity for people to advance in their careers. So if I can be remembered some way favorably in those three lights, I would be very proud.